Hello, everyone. This is my presentation for psychology, and I'm going to be looking at mental illnesses represented in horror movies. Um, so what am I talking about? A lot of horror movies, they just use villains as, um, they'll have a mental illness and, make it really scary. And often when people see these, villains of horror movies in theaters and stuff, that paints a really bad stereotype of people with these mental illnesses for lots of people. So, like, they might think that everyone with schizophrenia is like a psycho killer or something like that. Um, I mean, obviously, not everyone with these uh, mental illnesses are, um, psychopaths or like killers and stuff, but I have actually seen I've read somewhere that like a super small percentage of people who have schizophrenia and stuff like that are actual criminals, like let alone like killers. But so let's take a look at some examples here. The first one is an M. Night Shyamalan movie, The Visit, which it's about these kids who visit their grandparents. But they later figure out that, and this is spoilers by the way, but they later figure out that their grandparents are actually dead, and the grandparents that they've been seeing are these two like elderly mental health or mental hospital patients that broke out, and they torment them and try to kill them and stuff, and it's really scary. I've seen this one, but they have schizophrenia in the movie. And what schizophrenia really is just someone who experiences reality a lot differently than what is, real. So that might include hallucinations or delusions or just unorganized thoughts. But a lot of people actually just think that it just means hallucinations. But so people with schizophrenia might believe something that's, completely false, even though they're not really, seeing it, but they swear they do. So, yep, in this one, it just paints people who have schizophrenia as, you know, psycho killers and people who do torments and crazy things. And it's actually, I mean, I think it's actually a pretty good movie, but there it has been criticized by a lot of people because of that portrayal of mental health. This next one here is another M. Night Shyamalan movie. Um, this one's called Split. It's a movie about this guy who has dissociative identity disorder, which is um in the DSM as a condition where one has lots of, personalities, maybe two or more, living inside of them, or like personas, and they can switch between them, um, involuntarily or voluntarily. It's it does cause a lot of people anxiety and depression regarding it because, they might have relapsing memories, and it's just harder for you to go about your daily life if you're just juggling between a bunch of people living inside you, kind of trying to fight control over it. This movie here, the main villain kidnaps, I think, three girls and tries to, torment them once again, being really scary. And there's the girls have to work with all their they call them alters. So that is actually a thing. I've actually met someone with dissociative identity disorder, and they were mentioning how that, there are different personas. They can have different names and ages and even genders. So the girls in this movie had to work with, um, the different alters, and they had this one alter that was like the beast, and it was like, kill him. They didn't want to mess with it. So, but yeah, it's once again that we have a villain with a mental disorder who is, very aggressive, and it's a lot of shock value here. So This next one's called Midsommar. It's an Ari Aster movie, and it just depicts this couple who goes to Sweden, and this girl has a bipolar disorder, and she's really out of it. She's all over the place. I actually haven't seen this movie yet, but I've read a lot of things about it. Um, I think I do know that it was criticized for its depiction of bipolar disorder, and bipolar is a mental disorder where one might seek or one might experience manic highs and manic lows of depression and or happiness. So they'll be very moody, they'll have lots of mood swings, or they'll have lots of energy one day or really low energy another day. So um it's actually pretty common, I think. I think a lot of people want to say they have bipolar, and I think a lot of people use the word bipolar, but in reality, it is a pretty distinctive disorder. Um, or like someone will say, "Oh yeah, she's so bipolar," but as they'll use that word to describe someone who's just moody or who just is not consistent with what they're doing. But I do know that there's a lot of people in the mental health community that doesn't like the use of that that bipolar word so lightly like that. So they maybe want something that doesn't use carry that weight with it. So if you're talking about someone who's really moody and doesn't really have can't make decisions well, maybe not call them bipolar because that's not very accurate. um yep, let's move on here. So why do they do this? So many Hollywood filmmakers use mental illness as a plot device to make the antagonist seem extravagant or bizarre. So I guess a lot of people don't really encounter people with mental disorders like this. So most people who are looking at these in the box office, they see this, crazy villain who's killing people or kidnapping people, and it's not normal because they've never met someone with that kind of mental disorder before. So there's a lot of people and activists in the mental health community who try to petition these movies and stuff, although they still make millions of dollars and they're still very successful. It's just a lot of it could contribute to people having bad stereotypes about people with these mental health disorders. So, and that is my presentation. So, have a good one, y'all.